Welcome to the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Coming up, Gareth McGlynn on how Shamrock Rovers earned victory against Derry City at the Ryan McBride Brandywell. St Pat's made it 3 defeats on the bounce at home to Sligo Rovers. We're joined by Tim Clancy, John Russell and David Cawley, while former Ireland international Keith Tracy will tell us what impressed him about Sligo Rovers and what went wrong for the hosts. 7-time league winner Owen Heary will tell us how Bohemians destroyed Cork City 5-0 at Dalymount Park, while we'll also hear from Bows Jordan Flores on free kicks and being a new dad. Ex-Drogheda United player Paul Crowley watched his old team draw 1-1 at home to Shells, and he'll give us his assessment, while former Dundalk player John Flanagan saw the Lilywhites beat UCD 2-0 at the UCD Bowl. Ryan O'Kane scoring for a second game in a row, and apparently it was another belter. Let's start at the Ryan McBride Brandywell, where Towell and Byrne goals gave the Hoops a 2-0 win and cut the gap on leaders Bows to 4 points. Remember, those two meet on Friday night at Tallaght Stadium. Watching this one for us was ex-Derry City and Bows winger Gareth McGlynn, and afterwards he sent us this voice note.
It was second against third, and it was third place Shamrock Rovers that took all 3 points back to Dublin after a scintillating first half. It was unfortunate because Derry started the game the brighter, obviously off the back of, to me, one of their best performances of the season, home to St Pat's on Friday night, where they took all 3 points with a 2-0 lead. But Derry, again, it was Graydon who played well on Friday night, who started the game really well for Derry. After 5 minutes, he found himself free on the right-hand side and put a delicious cross in where Duffy, coming from the other side, got above Cleary and headed just wide. Then on the 14th minute, it was Rovers who came down the right-hand side with Finn, and he put it on a plate. It was absolutely on a plate for Towell, who I couldn't believe missed from 4 yards. He almost went to kick it and missed it completely. And to me, that was the biggest chance so far in the match, and it went Rovers' way. On the half-hour mark, Rovers upped the tempo again and scored one of the goals of the season. And it wasn't an individual goal this time. It was more of a team goal. And it started, I would imagine it was maybe 8 or 9 passes. It started with Lopez at the back, playing through midfield. He picked out Towell, who then laid it back to Byrne. And Byrne did a couple of shimmies, dropped the shoulder, and then pinged about a 30-yard pass over to Clark on the left-hand side. Clark heads it inside Derry's right back, and who's there arriving just on time was Towell. He let the ball bounce, glanced over to the Derry City goalkeeper, could see that he was coming out, and he just lobbed the ball over his head into the far corner for one of the best goals I've seen at the Brandywell in a while. Then on the 30th minute, it was Byrne again on the right-hand side. He puts a great cross in, and arriving at the right moment again, it was Richie Towell. But lucky for Derry, it was just inches from making it 2-0. Then on the stroke of half-time, it got much, much worse for Derry City. It was a nothing ball over the top by Rovers, right into the corner by the touchline. Marr, like we know, Brian Marr is to me, he's the best goalkeeper in the league, and he does that sweeping up job really, really well. He did it again, came all the way out to the touchline, chested it over one of the Rovers players, plenty of confidence, hooked the ball up the pitch with his left foot. Unfortunately, Derry didn't win the first header. The Rovers defenders headed into the middle of the park, and it dropped onto the one player that Derry City did not want to see it drop into, and it was Byrne. He quickly lifted his head, saw that Marr was a mile out of his goal, and just lobbed the ball beautifully over the Derry City defenders and made it 2-0 at half-time for Shamrock Rovers. Then on 83 minutes, Rory Higgins had one last throw of the dice where he brought off Graydon and replaced him with Brandon Kavanagh. Again, very attacking lineup now for Derry City. And it paid off then on 85th minute when Derry got a penalty after Cian Kavanagh got the better of Sean Hoare. He just out-muscled him. And then Sean Hoare just took him down in the penalty. Just got the wrong side. Cian Kavanagh got across him and he took him down. Penalty for Derry. And who else to step up is arguably Derry's most consistent and best player this season so far. It was Ben Doherty. He scored obviously a penalty recently for Derry City, so he had 1 from 1 this season. But unfortunately, this time it was the substitute keeper Poles who got the better of him. He guessed right, went to his right, and Ben put the ball straight into his midriff, and to me that was a big chance for Derry City. The rest of the game petered out, 9 minutes of injury time without any goals for Derry City, and nothing else happened really in the match. So Shamrock Rovers take all 3 points from the Brandywell tonight after a great first half performance. They also leapfrog Derry City and move 2 points ahead of them with their sights firmly set on Bohemians. And of course, next up for Shamrock Rovers at home, it's Bohemians. What a match that will be, first v second. For Derry City, it's travelling to Drogheda to try and get back to winning ways. And of course, we know that Derry City have such a good away record that Rory Higgins' men will be looking for all 3 points down in Rovers on Friday night. That's everything for me from the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and that was Gareth McGlynn, who watched Derry City's 2-0 loss to Shamrock Rovers at the Ryan McBride Brandywell. In fairness to Rory Higgins, in his post-match interview, he offered no excuses and said simply that they were not good enough. Jack Byrne was, would I say, coy in his post-match interview. Didn't seem too keen in getting into it about the whole MLS move, but he played incredibly well. I mean, you cannot accuse him of taking his eye off the ball. Since that whole thing popped up, his performance level has not dropped in any way, shape or form. And he won't want it to drop for next Friday night, because Shamrock Rovers host Bohemians in the Dublin Derby. How did Bohs warm up for that? Well, they beat Cork City by 5-0. Former Bohemians defender Owen Heary watched the game and afterwards sent us this voice note.
Another great result for Bohs, an emphatic win. Just talking about a bit about the game, Cork started the better of the two teams, had a great chance in the first minute of the game. Rory Keaton found himself unmarked in the box. Great header down into the ground, but Talbot made an absolute world-class save to his left-hand side, managed to claw the ball out from what looked a certain goal. After that then, Cork would be aggrieved from a few refereeing decisions. There was one incident on the halfway line, Rory Keaton gets fouled, but the ball rolls to a Cork player who's going through one-on-one with Talbot. Referee blows her up, brings the ball back for a free kick for Keaton on the halfway line. After that then, there was an incident where Gilchrist had a tussle on the ground, and all of a sudden then play is going on, referee calls it back, sends Gilchrist off, and awards a free kick to Bohs. Up steps Flores, and another wonderful, absolute wonderful free kick over the wall into the top corner. And it's starting to become a habit of his this year, and some great goals he scored from free kicks, and long may it continue. Into the second half then, MacDonald goes to cross the ball, evades everyone, rolls into the far corner of the net. Bohs then, that's it, 2-0 up, game seems to be over. But all of a sudden then, made a few substitutes, which made a big difference then. The Bohs brought more life into them. On comes Ali Coote, managed to get 2 goals, and McManus then from distance topped it off with a great strike. And, you know, boys, an emphatic 5-0 win. Well deserved on the night, but Cork will be reeling from a few referees' decisions that possibly changed the game for them. But it sets it up nicely now for next week's game against Rovers, and hopefully get something from that game and keep us top of the table.
On here you're watching Bohs beat Cork City 5-0 for the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Jordan Flores once again amongst the goals for Bohs at Dalymount Park. After the game, he spoke to ExtraTime.com's Ronan McNamara.
Jordan, that's 3 free kicks and 4 goals this season. Where does that one rank so far?
In terms of quality, I think that's the best one yet. But yeah, I'm really happy. I'm trying to add more goals to my game. I think I've got more this season than I did the whole of last season, so that's something I'm focusing on, yeah.
I think a lot of Bohs fans will say that you were missed in your suspension, but it was a lovely bit of downtime for yourself because you recently had a child, so I suppose it was a timely red card. You could joke about
exactly,
it.
Yeah, like I said, people are asking questions, but no, it's a special time. And I'm glad to get back on the pitch, you know, and that's why we do it. We do it for our family, so it's good to get back out there and get the win today.
I know retirement is a long, long way away. When you do look back at your catalogue of goals you've gotten here in the League of Ireland and the UK, like not many better goal compilations will be on YouTube in a few years' time.
Yeah, that's it. Something I'll look at when I retire, and I'll enjoy those moments. But for now, you know, I'm fighting for a career for my family and stuff like that, so it's on to Friday now. There's no point in looking at that again. So
and it was a great win today, a big crowd here as well on the bank holiday Monday, and a great response from Friday's performance, and great competition in midfield and a lot of spread of goals about the team as well. Like where does that come from?
I don't know. We've got a great squad, a very good squad, good group of lads, and you know, it's something that I don't think any team wants to rely on the strikers getting goals. We want the strikers to be banging them in, week out, but to know that we can get them from the whole of the pitch is a good sign.
And like the game kind of turned on that red card. It was a weird one because Colin Healy was arguing that Cork were kind of going through on goal before the referee brought it back. What was your view on it? I know you benefited from it, of course.
Yeah, I was actually quite close to the incident, but I don't know what happened. I was looking at the ball. It was off the ball incident. So I'm not too sure. I've not seen it back. But yeah, I was just running over to the ref asking if it was a free kick so I could hit one. So yeah, good.
As you mentioned earlier, it was a great response to Friday, but James Talbot came up trumps there in the first 25 seconds there, a double save. That really did set the tone for the game, really.
Exactly, yeah. Could be a completely different game if that happened. JT, we all love him here. He's a great keeper, and that's not the first time he's done it. It won't be the last. So yeah, we've got full confidence in him, and like I said, it could have been a lot different. So yeah, he's pulled one out there.
There might be an argument of who got the best goal today, because James McManus really rallied one in there towards the end as well. How big of a talent is he, and just how far can he go?
Oh, he's a great talent, and he's a good lad as well. He can go far. He's a humble lad who works hard. It's actually something that me and him have been speaking about the last couple of weeks, to take a shot when he gets the opportunity, because he's got the quality and he's seen it there. So hopefully moving forward he takes more of those shots and he'll put them in. He's a great lad.
And like, your return is timely, and so is Ali Coots ahead of Friday, a big Dublin derby on Friday now against Shamrock Rovers, top of the league clash.
Yeah, it's a big game, but it's 3 points at the end of the day. That's what we'll be looking at. We'll analyse our game, analyse theirs through the week, look at where we can hurt them, and we'll be going to looking for 3 points.
Jordan, thanks for joining me on the Extra Time podcast, and go and enjoy your curry now.
Top man, thank you.
Cheers.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and that is Jordan Flores speaking to Ronan McNamara following Bow's 5-0 win against Cork City at Dalymount Park. Let's go to Richmond Park. I was on LOI TV commentary duty for St Pat's 1-0 defeat to Sligo Rovers. Max Mata with the only goal of the game. That his 9th in the league this season. That was also the only shot on target, in the whole game for either team. Let's hear now from Sligo Rovers' David Cawley on his role at the club and how it's changing. We'll also hear from Saints manager Tim Clancy on what went wrong for his team. Bitter Red boss John Russell spoke to me about their performance and his desire to change the perception of how Sligo Rovers are viewed and how maybe they view themselves. First though, let's get some analysis of the actual match itself with former Republic of Ireland and St Pat's player Keith Tracy.
Yeah, I think Sligo deserved it. When you're the away team coming to a big ground like St Pat's, you know it's going to be difficult. They're going to have the lion's share of possession, which St Pat's did, but to restrict St Pat's over 90 minutes of football to not having one shot on goal is, I credit Sligo with an awful lot of credit with that. Did really, really well. They knew the way Sligo went about it in the first half. They sat back. They let St Pat's come on to them. The latter stage of the first half, then Sligo grew into it, became the better team, and like I say, with one shot on target, Sligo were always going to be the happier of that being the away team, and not an awful lot in it, but Sligo maybe just shaded it, and I would say deserved it in the end.
I think this was your first time to see Sligo Rovers up close this season. Give me a detailed breakdown of what you like.
I like the two centre halves. I think they're really, really strong. The way they go about it, they position themselves really well, and they're very athletic. If you want to flick balls into the channels, they're athletic enough to run into the channel with you, make good decisions early. They will battle with anybody, and in the middle of the park, Morahan in the middle doesn't, he's not flashy, doesn't catch the eye, but when you look at what he's doing, he's always available for the ball, will keep it ticking over and puts in an awful lot of work up there. And the one thing that I think Johnny Russell will be delighted about is that when the final whistle went, about 5 or 6 Sligo players were on their hands and knees. They were absolutely exhausted. So when you see our players putting in that amount of effort, winning 1-0 away from home, it all bodes well.
And you can see, and you've mentioned the centre-back pairing. There's one particular part of that pairing that I want to mention, and that's John Mahon. You can see him kind of growing into the season. I think he was a bit behind everyone else and he needed games, and now that he has them, he looks so comfortable there. And you can see why Sligo Rovers fans were delighted that he came back from St Johnstone.
Yeah, it's his positioning as well. You see, in the middle of the pitch was so congested. The space was always going to be out in the wing. So when Pat's got the ball out wide, and they did. Mostly it was poor deliveries into the box, but when they did put quality in, it was usually John Mann who got his head on the end of it. And it was just his positioning. His reading of the game was really, really good. His centre-half partner of Pinnacle was really good as well. So a lot to like with with Sligo, defensively really rigid, and you know Max Mata, if he gets a chance, he will hit the back of the net. An absolute handful, 9 goals already. So look, Sligo could be dark horses for Europe as well. They'll be there or thereabouts at the end.
Let's talk about St. Pat's. Give me a detailed breakdown as to what went wrong for them today, because there was periods of the game where they had an awful lot of possession, but they had absolutely no punch.
That's it. Great way of putting it. No punch whatsoever, Oisin. They're keeping the ball for keeping the ball's sake. You know, when you look at the likes of Man City, who are a possession-based team, they keep it and they will turn the screw. They make you run from side to side, and holes will start to appear. With the way Pats keep the ball, it's too slow. It's too easy. I mean, I could run around in that Sligo formation and not be exposed with the way Pats are moving the ball. It was like this at the start of the season with Pats. They were moving it from back to front too slowly, but passing it from A to B to C to D. It's all too easy. You can see it coming. They need a little bit more inventiveness. And look, to be fair, Chris Forrester was a little bit quiet. I think if Chris Forrester's on it, then Pats are on it. He was slightly off it today. And you see that Pats on the creative side of things really struggled as well.
This is a question I always ask you when Pats don't score or struggle to create chances. Did they need to go a bit direct, or did they actually do that, but that back two, and by extension that back four of Sligo Rovers, were able to handle that?
Yeah, they did. They mixed it up in the opening part of the game. Pats tried to play through them. I think they should have went, like, I can see the whole pitch here, so maybe it's very difficult on pitch level.
It'd be hard to do the commentary if you couldn't see the pitch, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's very, very hard on pitch level to recognise these things. So you could see the Sligo midfield was going for the press. So for me, just play over that press, get the ball into the striker's feet and get some penetration in behind. Pats didn't do that, but again, I credit Sligo with that. I think defensively very, very rigid, didn't give anything up in the middle of the field, made it very few mistakes out there today, and when they got half the chance, they hit the back of the net, and that's all you can really ask for.
Stephen Bradley said on Friday night that Sligo Rovers were the best team that Shamrock Rovers had faced so far. I don't think he was appeasing Sligo Rovers in some kind of Rovers pact. We saw today that that was actually quite a genuine comment.
Yeah, you see, when you get the ball into the final towards some of the one-touch football, little balls around the corner, and the understanding of each other's movement is really, really good. And like I say, the platform for Sligo to move on is defensively. Defensively, they're very, very solid, very rigid. And with Max Mata up front and the boys running around in the middle of the pitch, they're very good in every aspect of the game. So they'll be a very difficult team to beat.
It's Cork City away for St. Pat's next Friday night. We've seen it already this season. They've kind of gone on poor runs, losing 3 games in a row, but they have bounced back. Now, you can look at that one of two ways. If I was going back to my day job and I was trying to spin positives, I would say, well, they're able to bounce back. They've showed resilience. If I was to look at that negatively, I would say, well, this is the second time this season they've gone on a 3-game losing streak. So what do you look at? What's your concentration on there? The fact that they have bounced back before, or the fact that they've done it again?
Well, it depends what Tim wants, but to be honest, I wouldn't be happy that my team is putting themselves in that situation in the first place. You want to be in games. I know you can lose the
Is it for the same reasons as the last bad run?
Well, I don't know. I think the quality of Derry and Shamrock Rovers that they've just beaten to is fair enough. You know, sometimes you have to have an air of realism in this and say we can lose them games to the top teams, but it's the performance. Then you want to look at the performance, and the performance in the last 2 games wasn't good enough, but they were on a 4-game winning run before that, so it has been good. They've took a little bit of a lull, but look, Cork away now next game is a big one, because they need to be putting the likes of Cork to the sword, and Sligo at home really they need to be putting to the sword. But look, need to get back on the wagon as soon as.
Keith Tracy, thank you for joining us on the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. You were here to do co-commentary and analysis for LOI TV. I was here to do the commentary. So as part of that, I have to do post-match interviews with the managers, who you are going to hear from now. Sligo Rovers manager John Russell, you must be absolutely delighted with that 1-0 win here against St. Pat's at Richmond Park.
Yeah, it's a massive 3 points for us. We knew the importance of the game coming in, especially off the back of our performance on Friday. I thought we played really well against Shamrock Rovers, but ultimately we came away with nothing. So, you know, coming a point behind Pats into this evening, or just today's game, and to get the 3 points is huge.
Talk to me about the setup today, because you did seem to get it right. You nullified St. Pat's and obviously created enough to get the win.
Yeah, look, we've been playing well. Been really happy with our performances this season. Probably left the points behind us in a lot of games, and coming up tonight, we knew we'd have to have a good shape about us away from home, and felt we nullified St. Pat's to kind of free kicks, corners, didn't really expose us too much. I don't think Luke had a huge amount to do, and then I thought our goal was real quality and a great finish from Max. And we had a lot of tired bodies, and we were carrying injuries and a little bit of sickness in our group coming into today, so the lads had to dig in deep second half, and it showed a real show of mentality and character to see it out and get that 3 points and get a clean sheet.
How have you managed to find that mentality and character? Because it's one of the things that Keith Tracy noticed at the end of the match, that guys were on their hands and knees and they were jaded, but if it had gone on for another 10 minutes, they'd have worked hard for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic group. We've brought in a lot of players from overseas and mixed with the guys who know the league here. But from day one of pre-season, we put the challenges out to them, and we've spoken about having that strong mentality and changing the culture and the perception of Sligo Rovers. We don't want to be seen as a mid-table team and have a good result here and there. And people might look at us and say, "Oh, inconsistent this year." But I'm looking at our performances. Sometimes the results haven't gone away, but in and out of possession, I think we've shown really good quality this year, and that'll give the group confidence now moving forward to the next 2 home games.
I think anyone who has watched you in recent times know how good you can be creatively, especially with Max Mata and his ability to score. That's now 9 for the season, but it all has to be based on a strong defence, doesn't it? And Pinecker and Mahon, that central two, they're Bruce and Pallister-esque, aren't they? You're probably a bit young to remember their heyday, John, but you look too young to, but like they look like a really decent back pair, and it's hard to find, but it's great when you can get it.
Yeah, 2 top players. I think Nando's played every minute of the season so far. He's been superb, and John's played a good few games. He was injured coming into the Shamrock Rovers match, and look, we've had to rotate that right side with Éanna Clancy, who's done well. James Finnerty came in recently, but John was very good tonight, and a fella who's been out for the last week or two, hasn't trained a huge amount, but to get through the 90 minutes, and he's a proper defender, heads, kicks, presses really well, and is always covering, and really good performance on those 2 today.
Well done today, John.
Cheers, thank you.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and I'm joined by St. Pat's manager Tim Clancy following their 1-0 defeat to Sligo Rovers here at Richmond Park. Tim, your reaction to the result and the performance?
It was like frustrating. We didn't do enough. We had spells in the game where we had good possession and play, but then the final third we didn't threaten nowhere near enough. So yeah.
Why did you not threaten? Why didn't it happen?
I don't know. It's just listen. You're going from the game before Shamrock Rovers went to that game, joint top scorers in the league, and I think in the last couple of games losing them 2-0 to Rovers, and again to Derry, and then obviously going into tonight you're a little bit edgy and maybe not making the runs, not making the right decisions, and it gets a little bit itchy around the edge of the box, and that results then in a nervousness that we've got to try and get rid of.
Do players need to maybe take a risk, run ahead of the ball, make options? Because you can clarify or correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you think maybe they're being a bit overcautious. Certainly that was the case today, maybe.
No, not you won't say overcautious, but it's probably maybe afraid to make mistakes, and we don't want that feeling in the players, especially at the attacking end of the pitch. You want them to take chances, you want them to take risks, and as you said there, have shots, do stuff like that as well. So listen, it's something that is glaring obvious at the minute in the last couple of games that we haven't threatened enough, and we need to change that.
Owen Doyle was sent off. Is that the right or wrong decision?
I haven't seen it back. We couldn't really see it through their dugout and the players, but he might have gone over the top of the ball. I don't know, but again, that's a frustrating one as well. Late in the game, now you're going to miss Owen for a couple of games. How
frustrating is that Owen will be out, whatever about the effect it had on today's game?
Listen, that's it. He's the most experienced striker as well, and he's brilliant around the group, and obviously playing Friday, Monday at stage of the career that owns that was difficult, so yeah, he'll be missed in the next couple of games anyway. Is it choice words for the players now, or do you just try and figure it out and talk to them calmly, rationally? What way do you go about it? No, it's not. I don't think there's no point going heavy on them. I don't think they're lacking work rate and attitude. It's just at the minute it's probably a little bit low on confidence, and it happens very quickly with results, so it's picking them up and getting them to realise that they are good players, and when they are confident and playing well, they can go on a run like they did 4 games in a row before the last 3 games. So that's what we need to get back to in ASAP. Cheers, Tim. Cheers, thank you.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and I'm on the pitch here at Richmond Park with David Cawley, who is a great man to react to things quickly on the pitch. David, you just spotted that I dropped my pen and you picked it right up. Fair play to you. A 1-0 win here against St. Pat's at Richmond Park. That's a big result away from home, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. It's been a busy weekend and a busy schedule, I suppose, the last month. But just on the back of Friday night, obviously the gaffers had done interviews and all that. All the lads were disappointed, but how well we played. That we took confidence of that into this evening. But we knew it was going to be a different game than Friday, so we had to adapt a few things. And in fairness, the lads were brilliant. We got the goal and we kept a clean sheet finally. The lads dug deep towards the end when Pats were putting the ball in, and brilliant, great performance and a great 3 points.
You came into that game as a sub. What were the instructions and what was it like to come in to a match like this in a place you know well, obviously, being formerly of St. Pat's, a League Cup winner here?
Yeah, my job was simple. Just keep the energy going. Don't everyone just sit behind the ball, and obviously we had tired legs, tired minds from Friday night, and I'm fairly fresh in fairness. So my job was keep everyone going. There wasn't a whole lot of time left. We knew how the game was going to finish out. They were going to put pressure on us, and it was just keep working hard and try and keep possession for us as much as we can.
You played for each other, you worked hard for each other, and at the end of the game, Keith Tracy noticed it on commentary that a lot of guys were on their hands and knees and were sucking in air, but you would have played for another 10 or 20 minutes, whatever was needed, if it was needed. Where has that togetherness come from? Because look, you've been around the league a long time. Your squad is kind of different to what we would have seen in the past. A lot of nationalities thrown together, a lot of players thrown together that wouldn't know each other particularly well. So where has that togetherness come from? How have you managed to find that? Because that's tough to find in a team, isn't it?
And that was a big thing that John would have said to us older lads on the back end of last year, and of course in pre-season, that half of our job is to helping these new lads in. Obviously, like you said, they're from different countries around Europe, some from New Zealand, and it was just welcoming them in, but at the same time it's like a structure on the training pitch as well. It's every day you're working hard, and I think that is in the characters that John has brought in, and you can see it out there, especially today when we needed to hold on for a clean sheet, and the lads, didn't matter where they were from. In the end, we were all one team in the end, and we would have, like you said, we would have went on for another 10, 15, 20 minutes to hold on for a clean sheet and the 3 points if needed. And I think that's just come from the management. Obviously the players are feeding off the management. They're young, they're hungry, they want to progress, they want to do well, and the lads are the same in dressing room.
How are you enjoying playing in this league at the moment? Because as we say, you've been around it a while, so it's changed a bit in your time. I'm not saying you're old, you're experienced though.
No, it has changed. You can see that. Even the standard is going up. The structures in the way all teams are different, obviously, but they all have different styles, which wouldn't have been as much so over the years. But everyone would try and play the nice football. Everyone wants to play the nice football, but sometimes teams didn't have the quality. But I think everyone's building towards that now, and I'm still enjoying it as much as ever. I love when I get on. I love being on the pitch with the lads, and driving them on as much as I can every day in training, and whatever minutes I get on the pitch, I'm grateful for.
Is that hard to accept, not being a starter all the time, or do you mind, because you know your role? And in fairness to John, he seems quite clear with you. I know players don't like it when managers kind of fudge it or make promises that they don't keep, but he doesn't seem to be doing that with you.
No, I think what helps there with me, I think, and obviously all players that have a long enough career here go through what I'm going through now, but I played with John for many years. I played under him as an assistant manager when he was the assistant manager for the last few years, and obviously he's the boss now, so I think that helps. He knows me, he knows my character, he knows my personality, he knows what I'm going to be like day in, day out in training. At the start I'd probably be a little bit disappointed in certain situations, but if the team is going well, all well and good, I'm happy. Throw me on, I'll play my part or whatever. But I think, no, it wasn't too hard to take, because again, it's the management.
And just before I let you go, what about the man going up the steps there, surrounded by Sligo Rovers supporters, Max Mata? How good is it to know you get a good ball into the box, or even an average ball into the box, and he has a chance of scoring it?
Yeah, but Max is, he's had that in his locker last year. People forget to see, how young he is. In the back end of last year, we obviously had Aidan Keena, who was banging in the goals. Max probably, I wouldn't say struggled, but he didn't get as much game time because Ado was flying at the time. But I think people forget, myself included, how young he is, and he's grabbed that opportunity now. It was put to him to grab the shirt. Ado's gone now. Can he be the next man? And in fairness to him, I hope he doesn't see this, because I don't want to be giving him a big head or read this even. But he's doing brilliant, and long may it last.
And do you have to show him and some of the other lads who aren't from Sligo, around Sligo, or?
In fairness,
Not the pubs now, just the good coffee shops and things.
Keep them out of the pubs. No, but in fairness, I think a lot of the lads, or I know a lot of the lads, that they all live near each other, so that, you know, Sligo's a lovely town to go out and about. The fans will welcome them in. But I think, you know, they all live together and we all mix well. So no, they venture themselves, in fairness.
And you can see that out on the pitch. David Cawley, thanks for talking to us on the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast.
Cheers, thanks very much.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Let's move on to the clash of Drogheda United and Shelbourne at Weavers Park. It finished 1-1. Watching this one for us was Paul Crowley, who was on commentary duty for LOI TV and LMFM. And after the game, he sent us this voice note.
Drogheda dominant for an hour in the game. Totally dominant in the first half especially. Shelbourne no real chances to report in the first half. Paddy Barrett maybe inside his own half with an audacious free kick that just goes over Colin McCabe's crossbar where he was nearly caught out. But apart from that, first half belongs to Drogheda. They weren't able to capitalise though, and which has been a big factor and a big problem for them here at Weavers Park, where they've been on top in games. But I suppose the big talking point the first half was the penalty decision where Ryan Brennan is completely body checked by Paddy Barrett, who has no intentions of playing the ball, but the only thing I could think of was the referee didn't see it, otherwise he has to give a penalty. Shelbourne get in at half time 0-0. I thought Damien Duff would make some changes because it's not something he's going to watch for much longer. I felt he did make some changes. Kiki came in at half time and did energise Shelbourne in the second half. Was very effective. Got some shots off from long range and gave Drogheda a few more problems than they were getting in the first half. With that, Drogheda take the lead. Freddie Draper again, 2 goals in 2 games. Short corner, which I feel Shelbourne didn't get enough pressure on. Darren Markey's able to clip the ball in. Draper just drops off Barrett and gets a header into the corner. Cairns has no chance. Drogheda deservedly take the lead in the game. Shelbourne are probing them. I suppose we had Robinson's chance then. Great ball from McKeekey again to the back post. Robinson gets a great header. Beats McCabe, just hits the inside of the post and narrowly rolls across the line. Still 1-0 to Drogheda. Then Evan Caffrey steps up, 68th minute, just outside the left-hand side of the box and smashes a free kick past Colin McCabe, which had no chance, although he was on that side of the goal, into the top corner, with brought Shelbourne back into the game. Again, Drogheda, Shells, not a lot in it then with 20 minutes to go. Drogheda did tire naturally, being the part-time team with the last 10 minutes. Shelbourne got their chance where they thought they might have won the game. Moylan goes through one-on-one. McCabe, who's had his critics in the last few weeks, comes to the rescue, stands up strong, puts his hand out, feet out, and gets a save from Moylan, where he thought might have nicked the game for Shells late on. The game played out then the last 5 minutes, Drogheda dropping a little bit deeper, just you can see the legs getting a little bit tireder. Draper was on his knees up top, which gave Shelbourne a bit more possession at the back. But listen, overall, Drogheda will be disappointed with chances early in the game. Draper even had a header at 1-0 where he hit the crossbar, which probably would have been enough for Drogheda to take a 2-0 lead the way they were playing. But a share of the spoils it is. Drogheda 1, Shelbourne 1.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. One last Premier Division game to get to. That was the clash of UCD and Dundalk. Dundalk winning by 2-0. Watching this one for us, former Dundalk player John Flanagan. And afterwards, he sent us this voice note.
A game that lacked a lot of quality. Dundalk made a few changes. Pat Hooban and Benson notably on the substitute bench just coming back from injuries and really lacked their leadership. Dundalk unable to establish any kind of patterns of play or possession. I think they were hindered by a poor pitch in the first half as well. UCD didn't pose any threat to Dundalk's goal in the first half whatsoever. Dundalk's goal coming from a corner. Ryan O'Kane put it to the back post and it was bundled home at the back post. It was 1-0 to Dundalk at half time. Second half, very similar. Dundalk tried to play but kept breaking down sloppy passes, misplaced passes, lacked real intensity. And then in the final 10 minutes they sat back, tried to see it out and coughed up possession a couple of times and read their own box. UCD, unfortunately, Nathan Shepherd done really well called upon, and a couple of good blocks in there. Right at the death in the game was nearly over. Ryan O'Kane popped up. Scored an absolutely wonderful goal, definitely goal of the month contender to see a 2-0 victory for Dundalk. Unfortunately for Dundalk, another injury picked up. Robbie Benton, who had come off the bench to try and establish a bit of calmness, a bit of leadership, went off injured. I think it was a reoccurrence of his groin injury. So another one for Stephen to deal with. But the main thing is Dundalk got another 3 points, and that's 2 in the spin now, so they'll hopefully keep going and get a wee run going together now.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Time to wrap things up. The results from the Premier Division. St Patrick's Athletic 0, Sligo Rovers 1, Bohemians 5, Cork City 0, UCD 0, Dundalk 2, Drogheda United 1, Shelbourne 1 and Derry City 0, Shamrock Rovers 2. Let's just remind you of how the table looks. Bohemians on top on 28 points. They're 4 clear of Shamrock Rovers, whom they go to on Friday night. That game is live on RTE television. Derry City in 3rd position on 22 points. Dundalk in 4th on 19 points. Sligo Rovers 5th on 19 points. Shelbourne 6th on 18 points. St Pat's 7th on 17 points. Drogheda 8th on 14 points. Cork City 2nd from bottom on 9 points. UCD bottom of the table on 6 points. Talk about looking out from the Waterford point of view. Yes, they lost 1-0 at home to Wexford at the RSC. That a bit of a surprise. Dobbs with the only goal of the game. But Longford Town have done them a massive solid by beating Galway 1-0 at home. So Waterford and Galway meet next Friday night in a huge, huge game, and it's as you were in the table. Let's just tell you about the other results in the men's first division. Bray 0, Treaty United 3, Cove Ramblers 4, Kerry FC 1 and Finn Harps 1, Athlone Town 4. Big defeat for Finn Harps at home. So let's take a look at the table. Galway United first on 33 points, Waterford second on 26 points, Athlone third on 19 points, Cove Ramblers on 18 points, they're in 4th. Bray Wanderers 5th on the 16 points. Wexford 6th on 14 points. Finn Harps 7th on 14 points. Treaty United, despite their win today, remain in 8th position. They're on 13 points. Longford Town 2nd from bottom on 11 points. And Kerry FC bottom on 2 points. What a win that was for Longford Town against Galway United. All credit to them. A massive, massive win. And maybe, just maybe, that might spark their season. The fixtures next Friday: Cork City hosting St Pat's, Shelbourne up against UCD, Drogheda United meeting Derry and Shamrock Rovers taking on Bohs. All of those games kicking off at 7:45. In the first division on Friday night, Treaty United meet Athlone, Cove Ramblers take on Finn Harps, Wexford are up against Bray, Kerry FC welcome Longford Town, and in a really, really huge game, Galway United host Waterford FC. There are games on Saturday as well. In the men's Premier Division, Sligo Rovers welcome Dundalk at 7:45. In the women's Premier Division, Bohemians take on Sligo Rovers at 3. DLR Waves hosting Wexford Youths at 4. Galway United taking on Treaty United at 5. Shamrock Rovers meeting Cork City at 5:30. And at 7 o'clock on Saturday evening, Athlone Town play Shelbourne. That should be an interesting encounter. That's it from myself, Oisín Langan, and the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland voice notes for this. Well, I'm talking to you. Most likely you're listening on Tuesday, but I'm talking to you on Bank Holiday Monday evening. But whenever you're listening to this, I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget there's a deeper dive into the League of Ireland coming up later in the week with the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland podcast. Luke Jordan will look back on some of the action over the Bank Holiday weekend, but he'll also look ahead, particularly to the Dublin derby between Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians. As always, we'd love to hear from you via Twitter at Extra Time News, or you can get me on at Oisín Langan. And of course, you can read reports on all of the games that happened over the weekend on extratime.com. That's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your shortened week. I'll talk to you late next Friday night or early next Saturday morning, one of the two. Until then, take care. Bye bye.